What is up, everybody, and welcome to a Saturday morning edition of The Squeeze. I am your host, Tyler Connie. I've got a little bit of a blue theme going on here. Blue Phil Kessel jersey. Shout out to Phil Kessel. We've got a fun and interesting Friday. There will not be a video tomorrow. We're off to a Christmas party this evening, so I will not be able to do a video tomorrow. But I will obviously be doing some picks, but we do have a big night, and we had a big night last night. A really fun night. We went 6-3, up 2.05 units, which brings us to the week almost back to 500 in terms of the record. 9-10, but up a unit and a half. So the Bucks won. We got Chris Middleton's over there. We hit the parlay with the Lakers and going over because we had that in regulation. Hell of an ending to that basketball game where the Lakers ended up tying it after being down 18. They did lose in overtime, but I always preach regulation bets a lot because you get much better odds. The Seattle Kraken and the Washington Capitals came in on the under, even though Washington won. The Raptors lost, but we also had Terry Rozier over 22.5 points. So a 6-3 day yesterday, which is great. And again, up 2 full units. And then tonight, we've got 3 bets. We've got actually one for tomorrow as well. So we're going to have an NHL bet, a basketball bet, and a bet in the NFL that I want to talk to you guys about. So let's get it started with certainly the biggest matchup of tonight, which is the Boston Celtics versus the Golden State Warriors, a rematch of last year's NBA Finals. This is the first time that these two teams have met this season. Boston comes in as one of the best teams in the NBA at 21-5. Golden State's been struggling a little bit at 13-13, but they are 11-2, where this game is being played at home at the Chase Center in Golden State. Boston's 10-3 on the road. It's going to be a toss-up. The odds as of this morning have Boston, I believe, as a slight favorite. Actually, Boston's minus 140 at minus 2.5 points, which is a bit of a heavier favorite than I thought. I don't want to touch the winner or the loser. This is going to be such a big game. I like the total. Right now, it is actually set. When I made this bet last night, it was at 232.5. It's since dropped to 230.5. So you might have to play around with that a little bit. I have that number minus 110 at FanDuel, and I like the under. Okay. So on this season, both teams are over teams. Boston's 14-11 to the over. Golden State's 14-10 to the over. But when you go back, I know it's the NBA Finals, so they're going to be playing a little bit tough. But this game is going to be like an NBA Finals game. College football is over. NBA Saturday night is back as we head into Christmas. This is a massive game. So the last time these two teams played, Golden State wins that game 103-90. Before that, it was 104-94, 107-97. So the last 3 consecutive times these two teams have played, it's gone way under. Went under by 18.5, under by 13.5, and under by 9. And that's when we had totals of 211, 211, 213. Now we're getting 232. Okay, even during the regular season last year, so in March of last year, 110-88. Boston, they went under by 22.5. Before that, 111-107. So these teams are playing a lot of under games. When you look at Boston, under is 6-0 in their last 6 road games versus a team with a winning home record. And the under is 7-0-1 in Boston's last 8 road games. When you go over to Golden State, the under is 5-1 in their last 6 with a team with a winning percentage above 60%, and the under is 14-3 in their last 17 versus a team with a winning record straight up. So they're playing, even though they're over on the season, they're playing under when they're playing good teams. And then just overall, when these last 2 teams have played, last 10 times Boston's played Golden State, the under is 9-1. The under is 20-6 in their last 26 meetings. So shop around, see where you can get that number. Again, I got it at 232.5 at FanDuel for minus 110. It has dropped to 230.5 overnight. You can pay a little bit of juice to get the number up. I still like under 230.5. I feel like this is going to be a 105 to 100 game. It's the biggest game of this season by far. These teams are going to be looking to play some defense, especially Boston. So I like the under here. Okay. Now let's shift gears to the National Hockey League. Of course, I have to have a Toronto Maple Leafs bet if I'm wearing the jersey, right? So Toronto is playing host to the Calgary Flames tonight, which should be a good game. Calgary comes into this matchup 13-11. Toronto is 17-5-6. Toronto's been a great home team at 9-2-3. Calgary has not been so great on the road at 6-1. So to bet the line on this, Toronto's currently minus 160. To get them on the puck line, it's plus 155. Don't love those totals or those lines. So again, I'm going to do another under. I've got under 6. Okay, so it's a bit of a lower. A lot of times hockey games are 6.5. It's come down to 6. I don't mind that at all. The Leafs are 19-8 to the under this season. Calgary 15-11. These are two under teams. The last time these two teams met was February of last year. It was a 5-2 win for Calgary, so it did go over. But previous to that, it was 2-1 Toronto. They went under. 3-2 Calgary. They went under. There was a 5-3. It went over. A 4-2 that would have pushed, and then a 2-0 that went under. So the under is 7-0-1 in the Flames' 8 last road games. Under is 4-0 in their last 4, and under is 5-0 when they're playing back-to-backs. When you go to Toronto, under is 6-1 in their last 7 home games. So they're beating teams, but they just beat LA 5-0. That's 5 goals for the home team, but still it would have been under. The last 16 times these two teams have met in Toronto, the under is 13-3, and the last 19 meetings overall is 12-5-2. So I like the under. I actually don't mind the number of 6 because we can get a push if it's 4-2 or 5-1 if they decide to hammer Calgary. So we got burned the other day doing Florida and Detroit over 6.5. It ended at 6. So I don't mind the 6. I figure worst case scenario, it's a push, but I feel like that number is going to come under. Last game to talk about today is actually a football game for tomorrow. It's Minnesota at Detroit. So there's been a lot of talk about this game because the line opened. Let's have a look at this. So Minnesota's the underdog in this game, okay? Keep that in mind considering that Detroit's 5-7 and Minnesota is 10-2. So you might be thinking, why on earth would the Minnesota Vikings be the underdog? So I just want to pull up where this line opened at. So believe it or not, the opening line was plus 130 on Minnesota. So there's a lot of, I would say, controversy, but there's a lot of talk of it's not necessarily about who they think is going to win the game. It's where they want the money to go. And it's a whole sort of thing there. And they don't really care. Essentially what they want to do is a bunch of money to come in on Minnesota, and then a bunch of money is going to come in on Detroit when it evens out. And then the books have both sides. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic to see it like that. I'm going to take the Vikings on the money line and get the plus money. So when I bet this game, I was actually able to get it at plus 135. I actually got I got right at the opening line of plus 135. It has dropped to 110, which sucks, but still, I like that number. Anything even close to even money on this game, I like it. Minnesota's 3-1 on the road. Detroit's under 500 at home. They're 3-4. The last time that these two teams have met was in September of this year. Minnesota won this game 28-24 at home. Dating back to their last few matchups, Detroit won their last game last year 29-27. But before that, Minnesota won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight. So they've won 9 of the last 10 against the Detroit Lions. I know the Lions are a little bit better this year, but not that much better. Vikings are 5-1-1 ATS in their last 7 games overall. Detroit has actually played well. They're 4-0 ATS, and that's great. They can cover the spread if they want to, but I still like the money line. Underdog is 4-0 in the last 4 against these two teams, and they've played to the over. But I just like the interesting dynamic of making a 10-2 team a plus 135 on the road against a team that's 5-7. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, if we see more of it. And these are the sort of things why I like doing these videos. I mean, anybody can just, log on and go, make these 3 bets. But I like to find things that you might not find or see things that you might not see and say, hey, here's a good line here. Let's see what happens. So I like that. So just to run down the card, I've got the under tonight between the Warriors and the Celtics at 232.5, minus 110 at FanDuel. All these bets are for 1 unit. I like the under with Calgary and Toronto. That was a plus 100 at North Star. So even money there to go under 6. And then finally, the Minnesota Vikings on the money line. I got it at plus 135. See where you can get it. Shop around. That was at North Star, and that is for 1 unit. So drop a comment if you feel like fading or following these picks. Let me know what you think. Follow me on Twitter at Tyler Conium for more props and picks throughout the day. I'll try to get some stuff out to you guys early tomorrow. Have a great Saturday. It's a great weekend of sports. So let's talk about it.